joining us now to discuss the prospect of concluding the amendment of the 1999 Constitution before the expiration of the tenure of the National Assembly in 2023, given the delay by states to ratify bills passed to them, are APC Senator Bauchi North District Adamu Buklachuwa and Dr. Fisayo Esan Olusegun, partner Ivy Law Practice LP. Great to have you both on Newsday. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Now, I'll start with you, Dr. Fisayo. The Speaker of the House of Representatives has said it is doubtful if the current constitutional amendment effort can be concluded before the expiration of the 9th Assembly. Now, what's the implication of this for Nigeria's democracy, and is there anything that can be done legally to hasten the process?
It's a very, very tough scenario because the Constitution itself is quite clear on what process the amendment should entail, especially to ensure a wider buy-in of a larger representative body. So where states choose not to respond, it creates a very, very novel dimension to the amendment. The Constitution did not create an exception for if states choose not to undertake their responsibilities. But one way or the other, the National Assembly may have to take a position, and it may be tested in court one way or the other. But if it's established that the states were given the opportunity to be part of the process and they chose not to be part of the process, I think it's something that the National Assembly can deliberate on and then take a position. But I don't think a few states should be able to hold them to ransom, especially when majority of the states have, duly responded and become part of the process.
Okay, so I'll throw the similar question to you, Senator Buklachuwa. The Speaker of the House of Assembly did say that June 2023 might be the time when this can be done. What would be the political outfall from not being able to get anything moved in these next couple of months?
Well, I think the implication there is that since the Constitution itself says that before any part of it is amended, there must be a resolution of the National Assembly, which has already taken place in this respect. After touring the whole country and listening to suggestions from all states, we came down to Abuja and then started all over, and the committee sieved out all the recommended items, and we have already tabled that in the National Assembly and passed those recommended points of the Constitution that should be amended rather. And so far, we had since passed it on to the states, since the requirement is that apart from the passing of the amendment by the National Assembly, the states, there must be 2/3 of 36 states of the Federation passing it, or passing the items on the recommended list. And so far, there was a great deal of delay that only 13 states passed it. If I debated and passed most of them, but after at least I know of the Senate, complained and made it public that state assemblies are not forthcoming, and now the latest report we received is that most of them, about 17 to 18 states, have now debated and passed these recommendations. So the remaining maybe 7 or 8 states that are yet to pass, I don't know whether they will be able to do so before the expiry of the 9th Assembly. So this is left to be seen. And if they fail to do that, it means the 10th Assembly will have to take all of it, everything afresh, and start all over again. And that would be lamentable. It means the Constitution cannot be amended if states cannot come forth and really amend the Constitution as required by the Constitution itself.
Now, thank you so much, Senator Buklachuwa. I'll come back to Dr. Fisayo, Esan, Olusegun. Now, there are some Nigerians who believe we shouldn't even be talking about constitutional amendment. We should be talking about drafting a new constitution. Some people believe that President Muhammadu Buhari should hand over to an interim government pending the time when a new constitution has been drafted. Is this legal? What's your thought on this?
The contention about the antecedents of the 1999 Constitution is clear to any student of history. A school of thought, and that view is becoming very, very popular of late, is of the view that the last legitimate Constitution of Nigeria is the 1963 one that had due representations, due consultations between constitutional constituents feeding into that process, bringing up the Constitution. The 1999 Constitution does not have that kind of background. So a lot of people take that view, and rightly so, that the process, especially given the military coloration of, the antecedent of the 1999 Constitution, that it is not truly representative. So, my view is that those concerns are not misplaced. There's a reason why they come up, and we're in a democracy. They can be shut down. They should be entertained and factored into the approach on this constitutional issue. So I don't think those concerns are misplaced at all. They're not.
And Senator Buklachuwa, I just wanted to piggyback off of something you said earlier. You were talking about the 7 to 8 states that were still dragging their feet in order to get these bills signed on their behalf, and the rest of the states have done so. And if this doesn't happen, the process will have to start all over again. Is it that these states do not understand the consequences of not doing what it is that they need to do? Or what is the situation that can be used to pressure them, if any, legally or socially, in order to get them to move these bills forward?
Well, you see, state assemblies are normally, they're supposed to be an independent body, the third arm of government of the state. But practically, most of the assemblies are under the direction of their executive governors. And where governors feel amendments would usurp or reduce their powers, which they now have, they become a little bit reluctant, and then that will be unfortunate. In the case of, let's say, the independence of the state legislature, the independence of local governments, and other amendments that are on the table, you see, some governors don't feel comfortable about them. And they feel if the judiciary of the state is truly independent and they are financed directly, so the governor cannot intimidate or governor cannot decide or impose his will and wish on the judiciary to do a case the way he wants, not the way justice demands or is required. Now, the same thing with the local government autonomy. You can see they are now all over the streets in some states demanding that their autonomy be granted, even though Mr. President has already given a presidential order. Some of the governors have still refused to implement, and they are dragging their feet. So with this amendment, it will be a constitutional issue, and they would have no choice. So I would urge the legislature in the states to really stand on their feet and legally go ahead, debate the proposals and pass it on. Since the Constitution didn't say whether after passing their chief executive, the governors, must assent to those, so they can really do it by themselves, take the bull by the horn, as they will say, and just let's have it back and then finalize everything and have the Constitution amended, and they will have their own autonomy, whether governors like it or not. So why not do
Buklachuwa.
it? This is what I feel.
All right.
Yes.
Very well said. I'm so sorry to interrupt you. We are almost completely out of time. But I have a last question for Dr. Fisayo. Some of the states that have refused to consider the 44 bills sent to them by the National Assembly say that there's a need to include state police, state judicial council, reformed procedures for removing presiding officers of state houses of assembly, and some other issues. I'm sure certainly that this concerns, that these issues raised are valid. I want to believe that they are valid and they should be considered. But is that enough reason to actually stop the amendment process? Very briefly, please.
Okay, so the way the system works is such that at the federal level, there is a representative structure. At the state level, there's a different representative structure. The level of the National Assembly is much higher in the hierarchy of lawmaking in Nigeria compared to the states. Yes, the states can express, their concerns on a number of, issues that were not covered. But I do not think that they will have the powers to stop the National Assembly, because the National Assembly itself has its own representative base. And the National Assembly can draw on that to proceed in concluding this amendment, in my view, especially where the states have been given the opportunity and where majority of the states have responded. I don't think a few states can come together and then hold the other states to ransom. I don't think that would be logical and it would make sense.
Well, we'll have to see how it all turns out. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Fisayo Olusegun, and of course, Senator Buklachuwa. Thank you for joining us for this discussion this afternoon.